But all right, you got your cube. All right, you want to put it in the dimensions that you want it to be at. So normally your cube starts at 2 meters. I don't think your your fishbowl is going to be 2 meters in volume. So you just kind of figured out a fishbowl is about like 30 centimeters volume. What is it called? You have surface area, which is squared, and then what is cubic? It's cubic. So we got 30 cubic centimeters for this, and then once you do that, you see here the scale is not 1 anymore. We do want this on 1 because a fishbowl is on full scale 30 centimeters. What do you expect to do it in, though? Right. Now that you applied the scale of your fishbowl, you're gonna move it up. I'm gonna move it up by 15 centimeters. You can do this by pressing G. G for move, which doesn't really make any sense. And then you press Z to lock it on the Z axis. And then write 0.15 like this. There you go. This is kind of like where you want your fishbowl to be. Right. Currently it's a cube. Like there's not a lot you can do with this. It's like you're obviously you don't want a cube fishbowl, or maybe you do. I don't know. We're making a round one today. So next up, I usually like to use. You know what? No, we're gonna do this the old school way. Okay. Do Shift A to spawn a new geometry object. By default, it will go to mesh, and we want to pick ourselves UV sphere, and it's gonna be a big one. You see, it's a big sphere suddenly. Like whoop. Do it on some Chinese website. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but it's what I got taught with in school. Chinese website. For doing what? Oh, changing textures? You got taught that in school? Kinda sus. Kinda sus, I don't know. Kinda weird. 3D design? Oh. See. So your fishbowl. Set the radius to 0.15 because that's how I do that, I guess, right? Now for the segments and the rings, I usually make this a little bit lower because you really don't need that much quality. I think 16 here is gonna be good, and then like 12 maybe. No, I think it's probably fine. So just hide the cube. We don't really need the cube anymore. That was more for reference. You can just hide it, honestly. Just click the little eyeball here. Make it hidden. And then select the sphere that we have. Move it up again, G and then Z to lock it on the axis. And then 0.15 or whatever is half of like the height dimension of your fishbowl. Now you'll see it'll be very round at the bottom. And I'm just going to look up a fishbowl real quick, just for reference. Fishbowl. There's quite a few shapes, I guess. I just wanted to have like one of these. You'll see at the bottom it's flat. Because you don't want it to like roll over, right? You can STEM design for 4 years from 8th to junior year. I don't know what STEM design is. I don't really know. But for the fishbowl, you want this bottom to be flat. Now, I've got a little trick for you, right? The way you want to do is you go into edit mode. Sorry, going a little bit too fast. Is when you're in this mode. Okay, so there's a few modes in your 3D window. By default, you're in object mode, which is where you can add objects to your scene and you can kind of like move them around, but you can't really change the shape of your object, right? You have this sphere, but you don't really know what to do with it. If you want to change the shape of your objects, in this case like a sphere, you press tab, or what you can do is in the top left here, you can click on object mode, and there's a few different modes. For now, we're going to look at edit mode. STEM stands for S science, T tech, E engineering, M I don't know. Man, the M I don't know. Oof. Rough, man, rough. But yes, we want to be in edit mode, and after you go into edit mode, you can press either 1 on your keyboard, or you can click on this little icon. It looks like a cube outline with a little square next to it. This is vertex select mode. And basically what this means is you can select any point on your 3D model, and if you select them, you can move them around, or you can do other things with that. We can make it go up and down and sideways, whatnot. Now we want to do something rather simple, right? We want to move this bottom vertex up so it kind of like aligns with the rest. You could eyeball this. I would not suggest it. Instead, I'm going to show you a trick for getting this perfectly aligned with the bottom right there, or what's going to be the bottom at least. So Blender has a snapping mode right here, and you can see it has a shortcut, shift tab. I don't really use this, but I probably should. And by default, it's I think it's set to increment its face here. I think I left it on face last time I saved this as my default project, but we want to set it to vertex. So what we can do now is, if we're going to press G to move it, and we're going to press Z in order to lock it on the Z axis, we can now move it like this, obviously. But when we hold Control, we can also snap it to any other vertex. Now it will stick to the Z axis, go up only, up or down, and then we can also snap it to any of the other vertices. So now we can make this perfectly flat bottom, just like this. And that gives us the base of our fishbowl, I guess. Ta-da! Grand. Have a look at the fishbowl again. Let's see. I think we kind of want to cut off the top here. I think like here would probably be fine. I'm just making the shape right now. Thanks. Appreciate it. Whoa. So now that we got the bottom right, we can do the top part, and we want to cut it off. Just cut off the head of it. You know, kind of like a paprika or something, or a bell pepper. So we need to still edit this mesh, so we're in edit mode still. And there's two ways we can go about this. There's probably a lot more, actually, but what we can do here is we select the top part here, the top vertex, and then you can do Control plus, and I just noticed this is numpad plus. Oh, so sorry, Blender is a numpad software. If you don't have that, you can also do this. I double clicked. For most of you, it's probably alt left click to do like a loop selection. And basically you want to make sure that you're kind of like on this edge here, because if you do this, it will make a ring selection. So do this, hold shift and select the top part here with all of these selected, like so. you can press X. And what X does, it basically X's your selection. It deletes it. So you see I press X, it gives me a few options. We just want to delete the vertices here. And there you go. Now we got the top part cut off, just like that. And for the most part, our shape is pretty much done, right? Like, it's pretty fishbowl-y right now. But we still need some volume. I think we're going to be a little bit lazy here with the volume, just so everybody can follow along easy. So, but before we do that, one thing I definitely do want to go over is this bottom right now is not on the floor, right? It's kind of floating right now. We can fix this relatively easily. We go back into edit mode if we were still there, and we make sure that we select this bottom vertex here. This is going to be our base, essentially. So it's going to be rotating on. And now I have this set to Q, but we want to do Shift S, and this is basically our shortcut for controlling either our cursor. No, it's just for cursor. We set the cursor to active. So basically, you see that little thing that kind of looks like a safety floaty, I guess. Safety floaty, lifeguard floaty, I guess. It's now here, right? Did Shift S, cursor to active. So that went to deactive. And now what we want to do is go out of edit mode. So reminder, tab or up here, go into object mode. And now you want to click on object up here. Object, and then set origin to 3D cursor. And you see this little orange dot just changed positions. And at first it was in the center of the sphere, but now it's at the bottom. And why is this useful for us? Is because now if you open up the end panel, so this area up here, which you can open with N, that's why it's called the end panel. You can see here the location, it says 0, 0, 0.011, blah, blah, blah. We want this to be on 0. Now, look at it from the side, set this to 0, it'll be perfectly grounded, and that's what you want. So, looks very white, right? And also looks very blocky. You don't want a blocky fishbowl. I know if you start out with Blender, you're probably wondering like, oh, how do I make this shape really smooth? And some people would like recommend you there go like, all right, what you do, modifiers. I'm going to subdivide it until it looks round. Just keep on going, and now it looks round, but also and also you got this. And in all technicality, if you look close enough, well, actually, probably won't really be able to see it, but you don't need this in order to make your shape look round or have smooth shading, which is exactly what the function that we're going to be using right now is called. So if we do Control F, Shift S, just right click, I guess. Right click, shade smooth. More polygons means gooder. That's where AAA has gotten us now. Yeah. My goodness. Yeah, but you just right click and you click shade smooth, and here we go. Doesn't that look just fine? Sure, if you want to have a little bit more round silhouette, you can definitely subdivide it like once or maybe even twice if you really want to. It's not as round as before anymore, though. So if you do want it to be exactly round, you should probably start from like the full circle before you cut off the top. I think this is fine either way. I don't really need to subdivide. I think this is fine for me. And all right, cool. But it's not see-through, and I keep trying to save because I'm so used to it. But yeah, you got your round shape, and it does not really look like a fishbowl yet. Two reasons why: we still have to add like a ring at the top for this, and also volume. And then there is the fact that it looks white. You know, it's not see-through. It's not glass, obviously. So let's add a material to it, because by default your objects don't have material, right? As a matter of fact, they're just a mesh. This little triangle says it's mesh data, which basically means it's a model. It's a 3D model. Just like this is an object that has a camera on it. This is not a 3D model, right? These two things contain different information, and you can see that by this icon here. This icon is a type of data, and this orange thing is basically just an object that can contain whatever. In this case, we have our sphere. You can see here, it has mesh data on it. And the moment we go to material down here, and we click new or we click plus, you'll see that suddenly there's more data inside of here. So this mesh now contains material data, right? There's two ways you can go about this, right? The improper way, which is nice for if you just want to make renders, is you open up this window. So again, no. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. Cleans up. I want to go over how to like, clean up your workspace, or like how to make these windows. So if you're out of windows, make a new window like this. You drag it from the corner up like that. Then you click on this icon next to object mode, and you can see that we have a bunch of different view windows that we can access. We're going to shader editor right here. It's the 6th option down below underneath general. And this is basically how we are rendering our 3D object. Basically, this thing will figure out which pixels are going to trace back to our camera in a certain way. That's how textures work, and that's how materials in general work for computer graphics. We don't want anything too complicated. So there's two ways to do this. I'm going to show you the quick and fast way first, which is if we do Shift A, which is similar to like in the 3D view here, how you can add like geometry. You can add shader nodes in here. And we're just going to search up glass. So click the search button and then look up glass. See shader glass BSDF. Basically, this is just a shader that will show our 3D model as glass. I guess loading right now. Yep, there we go. It's not very see-through. Not really sure if you can get it like see-through. Let's see, alpha. I mean, it's definitely shiny. And this is also the moment where I'm going to tell everybody that I don't really use this. So, that looks pretty. I think you can make this see-through. I just don't know how. Don't ask me. Do not ask me, I don't know. What I do know is how to use the principal BSDF, which is generally what you want to be using when you're making assets for games, because this has pretty much all the inputs that you'd expect inside of a game engine as well. Some of them are a little bit different, like roughness. In Blender, you have glossiness, which is pretty much the exact opposite of roughness, so you have to like invert the texture for that. But I'm going to show you how to set this up to look like glass. All right. So first things first, in the material window here, in the properties window, under the material tab, we scroll down and we look for settings. And then down here, you have the render method. It says dithered by default. Just set this to blended. Show you here, if we turn on the alpha, you can see it tries to dither it. This is a way of rendering that we do not want. I don't like it that much, so I'm just going to set it to blended. Here's a little bit nicer. Something weird here with the light. Can worry about that later. So I just set the alpha down and it kind of looks like a fog, kind of like a ghost glass almost. But we want to make it look like glass, right? So what I like to do is set the roughness really low. Usually to something like 0.02. It can also be like a little bit more. You can already see like, oh, it's a lot nicer, right? Now for the color, it's still like black. You can add a little color to it if you want to. Right? The world opacity down to like nothing again. I'm going to add a plane here in object mode just for contrast. It's like that. It's a little hard to see, isn't it? But yeah, I want to add some volume to my fishbowl, I guess. So we got a modifier for this. So modifier is inside the properties window. So this is basically all the properties of your objects. And that's also why we just added data to our mesh object, right? Go to modifiers, and then we're going to look for solidify. You can see now it's solid in the sense of that it has volume. It kind of looks nice, right? It adds a little bit to it. I would definitely make it a little bit thinner. So I'll just add a decimal to it. 0.6, maybe 0.4 would be good. Look at that. Say it again about... Oh, yes, what Freddy said. Scan the image or take a picture with your phone and then send it over to your computer. Yeah. I mean, this kind of works for a fishbowl. Now, if you want to add a little lid to it, you can still do that as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to apply this, right? So we got our modifier. I'm happy with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this little drop down button and then click apply. What you can also do is hold control and press A. And there you go, solidify it. And now if you go into edit mode, you'll see that we can actually edit all the parts of that modifier that we just added. And we want to select this little lid here. You can do this by pressing Alt left click, or if you have it set up like me, it's double click. But for most of you, it will be Alt left click. There's a ring select. In face select mode, by the way, I forgot to mention this. It kind of slipped up there. But this is with the face select on. You can also have edge select, which selects edges. And then we have the vertex select, which is vertices. You can still select like edge rings like this by just kind of clicking a little bit on the edge like that, like so. But we want to select this loop here. And I'm going to do Shift S again, cursor to not active, but this time selected because we want not just the active selection to be the center of this, we want to have the selection be the center. So now this is exactly in the center here. And now I'm going out of edit mode. I'm going back into object mode right here. And I'm going to do Shift A. And we're going to add a donut or a torus, as more used to saying. So this needs to be a little bit smaller. And it's really big right now, so we're going to make that smaller as well. We're going to kind of try and fit it around here. And I did not mean to click that away. I just wanted to kind of look around it a little bit. I'm going to undo a few times and put the torus back, and you'll see that all the changes are still there. Now the segments, for me, I want this to be the same as what I originally had, which was 16, if I remember correctly. And minor segments is basically the loops around it. So we can lower this to like, well, let's also do. Anyways, about this ring here. You'll see it's also still kind of like flat color, which, you know, is nice for you seeing it. I'm going to go into the material slot here, the material section, and for this object also add the glass. And we didn't call it glass yet. You can do that like this, glass. Just double click it and change the name. It's also still very blocky. So we're going to shade smooth again by right clicking the background. And there we go. And that already looks so much better than just kind of like the flat thing, right? It's really nice. So we can still do a few more things for this. So this is fine if you're like happy with it. You can combine these two together. Just select both of these by holding Shift. Make sure that the fishbowl is the last thing you have selected. You can tell whether it is or not by the outline being brighter. If you want to change which one is active, you can just click through them by holding Shift. And I don't know why this is not on. What's going on? Kind of weird. Kind of like, there we go. Okay, that was weird. But yeah, you can join them together by doing Control J. And there you go. Now your fishbowl is one entire fishbowl. If you want to clean it up a little bit, you can still do that. This is 642 triangles, by the way, my fishbowl. This is not cleaned up yet, by the way. You can still clean it up if you want to. I'm going to lead you through how to do that. I'm just going to Control Z a few times. If you want to watch One Piece, you better make sure it's ready by the time, okay? Okay. But also, I'm not sure when I'm done, so.
Yeah, I was thinking it's.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm ready by the time the pizza is done. I'll try.
No.
All right.
No.
Anyways, we got right. We got these two. I'm just gonna go back to the original fishbowl. I'm just gonna name this fishbowl as well. You can just double click this as well. Fishbowl or something. Fishbowl. Go into edit mode. Select with face selection. Select this loop. And now I'm going to teach you something new. Something else that's pretty cool. If you double press G, so you already know that you can like lock stuff on certain axes by pressing, for example, Z or maybe X. Or maybe Y, or Shift Z, for example, if you want to not have it be affected by height, but all the other axes instead. This is kind of new. I just threw this out of nowhere. But if you double press G, you can have them follow the edges. And this is based on your perspective, so do keep that in mind. It's kind of gonna suck a little bit sometimes. If we look at it from the side, we could slide it down a little bit. like this. Which is going to be nice if we want to connect these two, right? So here, currently looking at this. This loop is inside of the other thing right now, and we want to connect them, right? So what I'm going to do is, we have this selected. I'm going to press X and remove the faces. And just like that, it's not really connected anymore. So you can see that by me selecting this loop here, it doesn't follow up on the other side. Like this one would, right? So the idea is we're going to connect these two together. And currently we can't really do that because they're not actually connected yet. And that's okay. We currently have them as two separate objects, so it's easier for us to edit them. So we're gonna just look with our eyeballs and see that this is the loop where we probably, or this is the ring where we want to like select these two. And this one. So everything in between needs to be gone. So I'm just gonna select these. Boop, make them disappear just like that. I'll get to you right after this. We're almost done with the fishbowl. It's almost finished. So now that we have the holes where we want them, and I'm just going to go into solid view. You can change views by pressing Z, holding Z, and then going to any of the other ones. We just want to have solid view right now. So this is a lot easier to see than the see-through stuff, right?
Okay.
So now we want to connect these two. So we're going to connect them. We're going to join them together just like before. So we have Taurus and our fishbowl object. We're going to select the fishbowl as the last one and then press Ctrl J to join them, right? And now in edit mode, you know, what you could do is what we just have with the snapping. You could do this and have auto merge vertices on so that when you snap them like this, they would just snap together. But there's a better way to do this, which I'm going to show you right now, is if we go into edge select mode and we select both of these loops, you can hold shift and then like alt click these or double click whatever you have. And then we can do, I don't know the shortcut for this. I think it's like Control E. There it is. Bridge edge loops. Control E. And there you go. Now they're connected. And you see that it has a little bit of a loop there. We could slide this up like so. That is one way to do that. Or you can just leave it there. You can see it has kind of like a nice little effect here as well if you leave them. Now, I'm very much about my performance, so I usually don't want that. And then we're gonna do the same thing here. I think this might already be connected. No, it's not. So I definitely have to like look through this mesh here. What you just saw me do was to go into X-ray mode. So I went into X-ray mode.
Which means I need to jump off.
And I'm gonna ring select this one here. If it will let me. There we go. And I'm gonna slide this down again. Go out of X-ray mode. And we're gonna do bridge these loops again with Control E. Just like that. And now we slide this up. Boop. There you go.
We'll see.
Okay. Look at that. Also, you need auto merge vertices on for this to like connect. I forgot to mention. Jesus Christ. This is why YouTube tutorials are nice to get. They get to do the editing. But I don't really think anybody's following along right now. I heard like Freddie was like, "Oh yeah, we can like can look back at it." Just know some of the information will show up later. Saying that at the end of this. So cool. It looks a little bit flatter on the edge, right? So cool thing. We can make sharp edges here. So kind of like what we had before, but now we actually get to be in control of where they're going to be. If you press Control E, just like with the bridge edge loops, there's more options. So we can set mark sharp like this, and bam, would you look at that? And get that sharp edge right along the right along the edge, the lid, the lip of the fishbowl, I guess. We don't have it here, which is nice. If you don't want that, if you do want that, well, you probably like take care of that a little bit before. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Yeah, fuck it, we'll do it live. This is not a make a fishbowl in 1 minute video. No. We just go over a bunch of stuff. We're having fun. So let's go back into material preview. And let's press this button, show overlays. This is how I usually go about like not seeing all the outlines and whatnot. This is the fishbowl. It's very basic. It doesn't really like have any special surface area stuff going on or whatever, but you go pretty well, right? And look at that. We got 544 triangles, which is really not bad. The only thing that, this could be lower poly, but like honestly, this is kind of like looking for nickels in a couch, you know? If I was 90 years old, I'd think that was real. Yeah, but there's so many more things that you can do to make it look real, right? And definitely the setting that it's in does not help with how it shows up, right? And I was looking at references earlier, like you have a few like other ones that you have here. I can quickly show you how we can make them look more like this without much explanation, right? If I take this, for example, and we turn on proportional editing, sphere, maybe not sphere, maybe more like sharp. Kind of like this kind of fishbowl or something, you know? And you know, that's the fun part about Blender, and I kind of took my time showing you how to do this because I really wanted to give you guys something that you could look at and be like, all right, well, you know, I have this and I have this, and I need to press these buttons in order to get from point A to B. But you know, if I were to do this, I'd be done in like 5 minutes, maybe less, you know, because once you know how to do it, it doesn't really take that much time. And what I'm trying to say here is, you know, if you want to get good at Blender, if you want to make fun stuff for yourself, I don't know what reason, maybe you want to make stuff for VR chat, maybe you want to make like a VTuber or something, maybe you just want to have a creative outlet, or maybe you want to make miniatures to paint, you know, take the time to learn this, and it's gonna be worth it. You know, even if you don't really have a goal for it yet, you know, maybe at some point you will. And maybe you simply want to impress people with it. I don't know.